My name is Umemoto. I am accompanied by three awesome vice chairs, Jacob Hands, Emily Yan, and Sumathari. So this year in Unesco, we'll be discussing two topics. The first one being the rights of children in armed conflict. That topic specifically revolves around not just dealing with child soldiers and preventing them from being used in conflict, but it also involves the hugely important aspect of rehabilitating them, putting them back into society as productive members of society, and that's something that we definitely are going to be focused on in the committee. The second issue being basically reconsidering the 2030 education agenda submitted by the United Nations. Since the expiry of a lot of these UN documents in 2015, following the Dakar framework, there have been a submission of a lot of new legislation by the United Nations on education, and they have kind of approached it from a more broad, generalized approach. And what we're going to be discussing in committee is essentially, is this right? Is this a good way of approaching bettering education and literacy around the world? And yeah. So this year, my committee is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. I think it's a great organization that has done a lot of social work, that has, helped protect a lot of, and helped safeguard a lot of, groups of minorities and communities, including, women, empowerment of women, protecting children. I think it's an organization that stands for a lot of good, and I can't be more proud to have the privilege of representing that committee within the Model UN and specifically in Bmun 65. I think it'll be a great committee. We'll really get to the root of things. Things can get sensitive, things can get incredibly heated, and that's the whole point of the debate. I love the fact that the UNESCO is discussing sensitive topics, because we'll be able to really pour our hearts out over the creation of these solutions, and really make sure that we're given the opportunity here to really come up with creative approaches to solving this problem. So I'm super excited to be a part of this committee. So the two topics that I've chosen, the first one being child soldiers, essentially the rehabilitation of child soldiers and the protection of children in armed conflict, and the second one being education. I chose those two because I'm a huge advocate and proponent for the prevention and use of children in in conflict. And then I also think that there's a huge amount of resources lacking, specifically in the rehabilitation aspect of the issue. I think we know a lot about not using children in conflict, but we don't really know about how to put them back into productive members of society where they can work and they can really make a living for themselves and be independent and not have to worry about being contracted by military groups just for survival. And I think that's a huge aspect that we really need to address, that we still as a global community haven't really tackled. And then education is, in my opinion, it's the root of a lot of problems in the world today. I think if we're given the right tools and the critical thinking and the right approaches to solving problems, and that we often don't see in a lot of these developing nations, where their school curriculums often don't provide services that really teach them how to interact, how to approach everyday issues. I think education is a huge aspect of bettering the world, and I think again, it's a privilege to be able to discuss that issue with in UNESCO this year. So. Honestly, I'm just excited to see everyone just kind of come prepared. As you guys know, my committee is running time and procedure, which really, in my opinion, facilitates debate and helps kind of produce an environment where people are kind of really there to contribute as much as they can. We don't have a speakers list, so people can contribute whenever they want. It would give the power to the chair to kind of facilitate debate, but we as chairs want to make sure that we're getting equal representation on all sides of the issues. And so we're incredibly excited to have that kind of procedure implemented within this committee. And I think it'll make for some super productive, super passionate debate. And I'm just really excited to see all that. Honestly, just get involved in the issue. I mean, I can't you'll come across articles here and there where you'll really find a connecting piece, something that maybe relates to you or something that relates to someone you know, or maybe it's just an interest that you somehow just kind of facilitate, and you're like, oh, this is something that we're really slowly getting passionate about. Use that to your advantage, kind of focus on that, hone in on that. And, when you come into committee, just be excited. There's a lot of super, talented and knowledgeable delegates that are going to be present in Bmun 65. And I think that just makes for, again, that great environment where you can all just work together. At the end of the day, we're coming up with solutions to help solve these problems. And I think as long as you guys just come in passionate, heated, and obviously prepared, and we'll be helping you with that along the way with the blog and whatnot, you guys will do great. I'm super, super, super excited. Honestly, I just can't wait to be shoved into the room with all you guys. Like, we're going to be debating some serious topics. It's going to be super fun. And honestly, MUN has been a huge, I guess, inspiring thing in my life. I've met a lot of people through it. And honestly, I'm super excited to just create that environment for you guys to learn, to grow, and just to make friends and just like network. It's going to be awesome.